And she is just beautiful. It's a kind of a copper tone, metal finish. See a picture?
And what is the mark on the bottom?
No mark.
So you don't know the artist?
I know that it was from a specific estate, and I have the name of the gentleman who was the executor. It was just up here on the other side of the history park. And
What year that is?
this would be during the 30s to the 40s.
Veronica Lake.
Isn't she beautiful? I mean, just look at this. Yeah. She is just so pretty.
It almost looks like carnival glass.
It does, doesn't it? And there's no mark. It's the Coors porcelain. This was a mold that was brought in, probably. Now, there's mention that they produced figurines, but I think they were mostly employee pieces, lunchbox pieces. Isn't she pretty?
I never knew they did that.
Yeah. And I've had specialty ashtrays, wall plaques, New Year's babies, lamps.
Have you named her?
Oh, I haven't named her. I should. She's just so pretty.
And this is you got from an estate?
A gentleman was selling the estate, and he purchased most of the items. And he knew that I liked Coors, and he contacted me about buying her.
Wow.
So I'm very lucky that she's still here in Golden. There we go. I was a little worried about bringing her at first. I thought, oh, I don't want to break her, but I just had to. You're welcome. So I'm going to put her back in the box. And that is the history that I know, but I really think that oral history is about work in the porcelain plant, stories of the days when, the old days before the war, when so many of the people in town worked there, well, they still do, would be wonderful to collect and save. So I hope that's something that we can do.
Could you address what the material is? Was that all mined here for the early porcelain? And then is that any of that, if that is so, is any of that carried over to when they were doing the scientific porcelain?
I'm sure it was. You know, in the early days, they used probably exclusively the Coors from the Coors beds here in Golden. I don't know the answer to that, but I have a feeling that as time progressed, there wasn't enough. You know, the clay isn't still being mined here, so it's coming from someplace else.
Well, there are several homes here that have those yellowish bricks around town. Tiles, yeah, and I think, isn't that the same material? Is it that, from the same mines?
The fire bricks?
Yeah.
Well, the bricks were probably made with.
You think Coors was doing that too, or is that?
No, there's a different. There was the Fire Brick Company.
So these are tiles. They're
Ceramic tiles. Yes, I've seen those before. I've had a box of them, as a matter of fact. Those were done by Coors because they're marked Coors on the back.
Well, there are 2 or 3 houses on East Street.
I had seen those. Those are fabulous. As you go down the alley, you can see there's a few more. There's a garage in between Washington and Ford. And now I know the ones you're talking about on East Street also. So that's very interesting, and I don't know a lot about that.
And the architecture is probably 1930s.
Yeah, because I do have in my shed a box of brown Coors tiles. And one thing that makes it so interesting is these things continue to turn up. I'm always finding something new. So.
And that's what porcelain was made from, was clay.
From the clay.
Is that what it is? I wasn't sure about that either.
Well, and like I said, that's most of the information I have, but I'm glad to answer questions.
Are they still using the original building, or they have?
Yes. Yeah, the ceramic plant is still on Washington Avenue. Washington and 8th, in between 8th and 9th. And it does look very similar to this. They've probably added a few extra buildings.
So, Heather, did they ever do porcelain buttons?
Yes. The buttons are they're not marked, but they're strong, and I've actually purchased buttons that we know were made at Coors. So I do have some of those down at the store.
Do they have any area at the porcelain plant for visitors to go in and see a display? Do they have a wall display in there?
Not to my knowledge. The last time I was in there, no, they did not.
I've never been in there.
Yeah. I walked in the door one day. I was doing research, and this was many years ago, and they had a few cases right as you walk in the door. That would be something interesting to find out. I remember when Grover Coors was still here in Golden, he was collecting some of the history to try and save it about the porcelain plant. He told me he had an office in the old part of the plant. And I haven't heard anything from him for a while. I think that they no longer live in Golden.
They don't. They live in California.
They're in California now. So it sure would be wonderful to have an area that people could go in and see the history and the different porcelains in there, the different time period. But is there another question?
Is there a publication, maybe like that one, that's pretty definitive if somebody wanted to collect this?
Mm-hmm. This is great. Robert Schneider.
Okay.
And this is an old book. Let's see, this was back in the 70s or 80s, and it definitely gives you an idea all about Rosebud and all the pieces that were made. And the Rockmont, the dinner line. There's also another good book called Colorado Potteries by the Carltons, and that has a large section on Coors porcelain.
I was curious when you described the plate there with the flowers on it, that
Yeah.
large plate. You said you called it thermo?
A thermo porcelain.
How does the thermo?
Well, I think because it is such a strong pottery and porcelain. This is a light-fired ware, and this ware is fired at a much higher temperature, and it's almost indestructible. Let's see. Yes, I cook on it still, and it's great. Now, this is an old piece here. This just looks fairly normal. I didn't say anything about this one. This is Coors Gold and White. And this came from the Oddfellows Lodge up above the Rocking Horse. They didn't want their dinner service up there anymore. They wanted to switch it out. So that's an early piece.
And these like the yellow container and the maroon one, can you put those in the oven, or were those just?
Well, they were made to put in the oven. I'm sorry about that. Yell into the microphone. They were made to cook and serve in. I wouldn't. They're lovely. I think I would use them for display. I might put chips in them or something that's already made. But when you heated them up, it crazed the glaze. I don't think I would eat off of them or put them in the dishwasher. There are people that still use these for their holiday meals, and they're beautiful. But they're very collectible right now, and it would have to be a special occasion, I think.
What do you mean by praise the glaze? Would you mind talking a little bit about the collectability of each of these?
Yes, there's still a strong market. Of course, it's our history. People collect all of the Coors pottery and porcelain. It's a little piece of our history. It's no longer made. The Rosebud is the most popular dinner line. Everyone has their favorite. Some people collect blue. Some people collect white, or they like the red. Other folks like to mix and match all the rainbow colors. The rare items are going to be worth more. The brewery-related porcelains are very collectible. The soda fountain items, the malted milk, people like those. Now I'd say with the state of the economy, pottery has been down a little bit, but people are still collecting the Rosebud. The price has come down a little bit. It kind of had its heyday about 5 years ago, but so did almost everything else.
Where's the best to hit the shops, to go on eBay, or where would someone start?
Well, I have quite a bit here in Golden at the Rocking Horse. I just bought an estate from Phoenix, and I went down, and this is the second time I've purchased from this family. They're wonderful. Their parents collected all sorts of things, including rosebud. I just brought back about 400 pieces. I'll put more in the Rocking Horse, so come down and see. But you can look on eBay. You can go to the antique malls. That's what I did. I'd search it out. I'd go to the shows. I'd bring it back here to Golden, and I'd put it in the store. And then it would go all over the country again.
We're visiting, so where is the Rocking Horse?
The Rocking Horse is on Washington Avenue, which is the main street. It's our little local antique store. It's right underneath the arch. It says, "Howdy, folks. Welcome to Golden." And it's a co-op. There are quite a few different antique dealers in there. And it's a cute little store. Yeah, yeah. So you should stop in if you have a chance.
You run that?
No, I'm just a part of it. Joe Masteller, Bob and Joe Masteller are the owners. They've owned that for over 20 years. I've been down there about 15 now. So, and it's a great part of our community.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
I got several pieces from there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.